Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Girivaradhari Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jayam Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Vrajajanaranjana Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Yamunatiravanachari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava 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 Shri Radha Madhava Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narotamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudhirayet nasta praeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 4, text 10 to 13. So quite a few texts. And it's all in prose. Well, not all, but yeah, still, I will just read through them and then we can go through the word by word of text 13. So she's translating, yeah? Okay. So I will try to be a little slow, but you can stop me if it's too fast, just tell me. Tammanu kusha varta ila varto brahma varto malaya ketur padrasena indra sprig vidharva ki kata itti navanavati pradanaha. Translation. Following Bharat, there were 99 other sons. Among these were 9 elderly sons named Kushavarta, Ilavarta, Brahmavarta, Malaya, Ketu, Bhadrasena, Indrasprik, Vidarbha, and Kikata. Text 11 to 12. Virhotro tadrumilash chamasa karabhajana. Translation. In addition to these sons, there were Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pipalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamasa, Karabhajana. And these were all exalted, advanced devotees and authorized preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam. These devotees were glorified due to their strong devotion to Vasudeva, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they were very exalted. To satisfy the mind perfectly, I, Shukadev Goswami, shall thereafter describe the characteristics of these 9 devotees when I discuss the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva. It's good, no? Okay. Yaviyangsha ekashtitir jayanteya pituradesha kara mahashalina mahashrotriya yagyashila karma vishuddha brahmana bhabuhu. Word by word translation. By Srila younger. Ekashtiti, numbering 81. Jayanteya, the sons of Jayanti, the wife of Rishabdev. Pitu, of their well-cultured, of their father. Adeshakaraha, following in the order. Thank you. Mahashalinaha, well-behaved, well-cultured. Mahashrotriya, extremely learned in Vedic knowledge. Yagyashila, expert in performing ritualistic ceremonies. Karma Vishuddha, very pure in their activities. Brahmanaha, qualified brahmanas. Babhuvuhu, became. Translation. In addition to these 19 sons mentioned above, there were 81 younger ones, all born of Rishabdev and Jayanti. According to the order of their father, they became well-cultured, well-behaved, very pure in their activities and expert in Vedic knowledge and the performance of Vedic rituals. Thus, they all became perfectly qualified brahmanas. Purport. From this verse, we have good information of how the castes are qualified according to quality and work. Rishabdev, a king, was certainly a kshatriya. He had 100 sons, and out of these, 10 were engaged as kshatriyas and ruled the planet. 9 sons became good preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, Mahabhagavatas, and this indicates that they were above the position of brahmanas. The other 81 sons became highly qualified brahmanas. These are some practical examples of how one can become fit for a certain type of activity by qualification, not by birth. All the sons of Maharaj Rishabdev were kshatriyas by birth, but by quality some of them became kshatriyas, and some became brahmanas. 9 became preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavat-dharma darshana, which means that they were above the categories of kshatriya and brahmana. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitangscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Hare Krishna devotees, thank you very much for coming to today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. I'm feeling a little shy to speak Bhagavatam in front of all of you who are such nice devotees and, doing the mission as a full-time seva, which is very commendable. It's what we all strive for. And so I just seek your blessings that I can speak something that will be of some value for you. And I'll just read the verse again one more time. This is text 13. In addition to these 19 sons mentioned above, there were 81 younger ones, all born of Rishabdev and Jayanti. According to the order of their father, they became well-cultured, well-behaved, very pure in their activities, and expert in Vedic knowledge and the performance of Vedic rituals. Thus, they all became qualified brahmanas, perfectly qualified brahmanas. So we're still here hearing about the characteristics of Rishabdev, and now we hear more about the qualities of his 100 sons. And yesterday we heard about Bharat Maharaj, who was a great exalted devotee, qualified with the best attributes. So he was like the primus inter pares. You heard this one before? This is Latin, the best among equals. This was always something that I liked, the best among equals. So, they were all very exalted personalities, but all amongst them, Bharat Maharaj was really special again. And then we hear about 99 other sons. And I was thinking I will focus a little bit more on the second ones that were mentioned. So the first ones were 9 elderly sons, which are not much described in Bhagavatam. I mean, I don't know about them much. Although, I guess, for example, Ilavarta or Kushavarta, I guess, like there's a Ilavarta Dweep? Ilavrita, which probably is derivation from Ilavarta, I could imagine. So, yeah, he's probably also a very powerful personality. But then, in text 12, there were other sons that were mentioned, 9 personalities. And maybe you heard their names before: Kavi, Havi, Antariksha, Prabuddha, Pippalayana, Avirhotra, Drumila, Chamasa, and Karapachan. Rings a bell from somewhere? Yes, exactly. So these are the Nava Yogendras, which are mentioned later on. And Shukadev Goswami says here, to satisfy the mind perfectly, I shall hereafter describe the characteristics of these 9 devotees when I discuss the conversation between Narada and Vasudeva. So it's interesting, Shukadev Goswami says that he wants to satisfy the mind perfectly. And in this way, he wants to give more glories to these devotees because they're very special. And because we hear about these personalities, then naturally the mind wants to know, why are they so important, why are they mentioned, and what were their activities. So he says later on he will describe them. And he does so in which canto? 11th, yeah, late on. So it's interesting. He says, I shall hereafter describe the characteristics. So you think, okay, maybe the next few verses, but it's actually 6 cantos later that he will speak about the Nava Yogendras. And so I will speak a little bit about the Nava Yogendras, their instructions that they're giving in the 11th canto, and focusing on this point of Bhagavad Dharma, right? We hear that Prabhupada says here in the translation, or in the purport rather, that these 9 became preachers of Srimad Bhagavatam, of Bhagavad Dharma Darshan. And so that's the main topic of this class. And it's interesting first to mention that the Nava Yogendras are bhaktas, but they're characterized as Shanta bhaktas, which I don't know really why it is. Because obviously they're very, very exalted personalities, and as we will hear, their instructions are very much laden or full of devotion and pure devotion. So you could wonder, why are they in Shanta rasa, which is not even counted among the primary rasas, really. I mean, it is a primary rasa, but it's kind of in neutrality, and that's why it's usually not counted. Mahaprabhu, he starts from Dasya to Sakya to Vatsalya and then Madhurya. So these are the 4 main rasas. So it's an interesting point to note. I didn't get the time to really explore that further. But in the 11th canto, we hear the story of how the Nava Yogendras appear on the scene. It's and again, Bhagavatam, a story in a story of a story. So there, Narada Muni is speaking to Vasudeva. So Vasudeva, he's living in Dwarka, and Narada comes to visit him. And usually when Narada Muni comes somewhere, then he speaks. He likes to glorify the devotees and share knowledge. That's his main duty. So he comes to Vasudeva and he tells him, okay, you have been absorbed so much in many ritualistic activities. Now it's really time to focus on the primary essence. And again, this comes down to the Bhagavad Dharma, to the pure devotional service. And that's why then he tells him the story of King Nimi and the Nava Yogendras. So the Nava Yogendras, they're traveling all around the universe, all the time. But at this particular point in time, they came to a sacrifice of Maharaj Nimi, who was a powerful king, and they interrupted the sacrifice, basically, making an important point even at their arrival, that actually, sacrifices, they're important, but they're never more important than serving Krishna purely, devotionally, especially by glorifying his holy name. So these rituals, they can satisfy the Lord to some degree, but to really fully please him, the devotional aspect is much more important. And so then Maharaj Nimi is very ecstatic on the appearance of these sages, because he knows how rarely it is that one gets the association of pure devotees. And he actually mentions that there. He says, Kshana Ardha, to just have Ardha Kshana. We sing every morning, Pratikshanasva. What does Kshana mean? Pratikshanasva Dhanalo Lupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanananda. So, Shri Radhika Madhava Yorapara Madhurya Lila Guna Rupa Namnam. The spiritual master, he's always engaged in chanting, in glorifying Krishna, hearing about his activities, Guna Nam, karma, lila. Pratikshana. So he's not spending a moment that he's not engaged in Krishna service. So kshana means a moment in Sanskrit. And so ardha kshana is half of a moment. To just get half of a moment of the association of a pure devotee is just the greatest fortune. Just to have half a moment with a pure devotee. So that's how Maharaj Nimi starts his interaction. And he asks different questions. First he asks about the supreme good. You know, what is the best thing to do? He asks about the different classes of devotees. Kanishta, Madhyam and Uttama Bhaktas. And then he also asks about the nature of Maya. And of course, the whole point of this discussion is that the Navayogendras then instruct him, King Nimi, about pure devotional service. And they say that this is the goal of everything, of all the things we're doing, of all the activities, has one purpose, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead with devotional service. And they speak many, many very beautiful verses. One of them is one of my favorite verses, because Prabhupada's translation is just putting everything together. Our spiritual master, Srila Shiva Maharaj, just spoke about this verse recently in Turkey. So that's why also I mention it here. Payam dvitiya viniveshatasya ishada petasya viparyayo smriti tanmaya yato buddha apachetam bhaktyaika yesham guru devatatma. And it says, translated, and that's why I read it here, because Prabhupada just, it's one verse, but it contains all the philosophy. And I will try to be a little slow. Fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is affected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipful deity and as his very life and soul. So it's very, very beautiful, no? Everything is inside, in just one verse. This concept of dvitiya biniveshata, that we think dvitiya, like in Russian you also have dvi, right? Or dva. Dva is kind of the same thing. So, two. When one thinks that there is actually something outside of Krishna, that there is not only one Krishna, but there's some other energy, some kind of counterpart, or rather an adversary counterpart. Like maybe they have in Christianity, they have God, and then they have Satan, the devil. And these powers, they're always against each other. And it's almost seems that the Christians, they're more absorbed of keeping away the devil. There's so much focus on it. But once we understand that there's nothing outside of Krishna, because Mayam Tatamidam, no, he's in everything. At the same time, he's also outside, but he's also in everything in this world. So once we understand that everything is under control of Krishna, then there can no more be any fear, no more bhaya. As long as we have this concept, though, that this material world is separate from Krishna, and it's there for our enjoyment, and this way we turn away from Krishna and towards sense enjoyment. At that point of time, we identify with the body, we become fearful, and we will, fight for our life and sustenance. And in this way, have a very difficult life. But what is the solution? Bhaktyai kayesham guru devatatma. One should engage in unflinching devotional service under the guidance of the Guru, who is Devat Atma, who is one's Ishtadev, the Lord, the God of one's heart. And so in this way, the Guru is like the worshipful and the walking and talking deity, right? I'm sure you have this experience when, if you have ever served your spiritual master in some way, it's like you're serving Krishna, but Krishna is walking and talking and doing things. And so it's very much practical, you know. Of course, we serve the deity, and Krishna is not different from the deity, but not so often we find that we have this purity to really fully conceive that. So if you have the spiritual master, though, then you can really have this experience of what it means that Krishna is here with us in one sense. He's guiding us through his spirit, his pure devotees. And the guru acts as a via medium. And sometimes, you know, they say about Srila Prabhupada, when Prabhupada was angry, then it was real anger. And it felt like Krishna was angry. You know, you could directly feel Krishna shouting at you if Prabhupada shouted at you. And I have few experiences like that. Actually many. Most. No, but I could really see how my spiritual master also is. He's always teaching me through. And you know, if he chastises me, I really feel often that this is just Krishna telling me what he thinks about me in that moment. And maybe I can share just one little example. When we were in Mayapur and some guests were coming in the evening, which I didn't know about by my stupidity. I was there at lunch when they said that they will come, and Guru Maharaj said, yes, that's good. We meet at 7. But somehow I didn't register. So the guests came, and they waited, and it was 7:10, and then my spiritual master called me, hey, where are the guests? And I was like, Guru Maharaj, which guests? And then I remembered kind of that there were some devotees that had come, but I didn't understand why they had come. So, and then I stood. I brought them, and then my spiritual master was so angry. He was just, you know, his eyes were like fire. He was just looking at me and screaming, what are you doing, you know? Why are you not taking care of them? These are my guests, you know, and you just don't bring them? You just let them wait? And you think your spiritual master has so much time that he can just wait and sit here all the time? It was maybe 15 minutes. But you can imagine how I felt. It was like, and he was, you know, the other guests, they were there, and he was just having a go at me, like full on. And I felt like, wow, there's like fire coming from his mouth, you know, blazing fire, blazing flames. But then you go out of the situation, you feel really bad. You start to introspect, and you can see, okay, this is, my spiritual master is correcting a tendency, a certain attitude that is in my mind, that I could tell that for the past few days at that particular time, I remember, you know, I was in such bliss. I was in Mayapur, and we had been there for maybe a month or so, and I was like accustomed to things, and I just had a good time, you know. I was wandering around, chanting the holy name, and basically just enjoying my time in the Dham. And in this way, falling out of being the servant, of being, you know, what my duty is to really always think about the spiritual master and be there for his needs and cater to them. And, you know, in this way, he really cut this enjoying mentality and made me again correct, okay, you know, this is your service, and this is why you should be always ready. And so in this way we can experience, and also of course there is the other way, that when Srila Prabhupada smiled, it was oceanic and the whole world was happy. You could not help but be happy in his presence when he was like that. And similar with my spiritual master, when he's happy, when he's pleased with you, there's nothing else that matters in the whole world. There's nothing that can be better than this feeling of being able to satisfy your spiritual master. So both ways are there, and these kind of emotions that come from this experience with the walking and talking deity, they really give us this faith that, wow, you know, he sees my internal state. He knows me better than I know myself, and he's able to guide me and, you know, bring me on the right path time and time again. And that's why we're so much indebted to our spiritual masters, who take this burden of love to chastise us and you know, get on our case and try to help us. And so this is the power of the pure devotees, and just Kshana is so valuable, and Srimad Bhagavatam is all about that. Bhagavat Dharma, meaning the religion or the path that leads us to Krishna, by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam and by serving the pure devotee, by questioning and being attentive to pure devotional service, always trying to render pure devotional service. And that's why it is said, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam, that real Dharma is only coming from Krishna himself, directly. It's not something that we can concoct. And often it happens in devotional service. We bring in our own desires, our own mentalities, how we want to serve. But first, we should learn what is given in the scripture, and from that way we can really then progress. And so, Srimad Bhagavatam, we know also, Dharma Prochita Kaitavotra, it kicks out all cheating religion. That's the mission statement basically right in the beginning. Vedyavam Atravastu Shivadam, it establishes the highest truth, which is for the benefit of all. And it's also said, King Vaparar Ishvara, what need for any other scripture is there, really? If there's Srimad Bhagavatam, nothing else is needed. Because it contains all the essence that we need for our spiritual lives. And so the Bhagavatam is our main scripture, it is our main text of guidance. But if we look at it as Srimad Bhagavatam, then still some things are not really as we do it practically in nowadays ISKCON. Meaning that, for example, nobody in Srimad Bhagavatam gets Harinam Diksha, gets initiated into the holy name. If you ever recognize, like, no mention is there that Shukadev Goswami took initiation, or even Parikshit Maharaj. He was hearing Bhagavatam, but he never got initiation, like formally, like we accept the spiritual master. And so that's interesting. So we follow Srimad Bhagavatam, but this very important point seems to be not mentioned. So how is it? You have any explanation? Why is there? Of course, there's a focus, and we just heard we should make the Guru our Ishta, our Dev, our Devata, our predominating deity. But still, it is not mentioned so much about taking initiation. Mm-hmm.
What came to my mind is that actually Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was distributing this names so much and giving us the names. Before that, maybe it was not such a big topic, or it was not so easily to teach Krishnas now.
Mm-hmm.
Which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also was
Mm-hmm. So Mahaprabhu, he was the one who kind of introduced Harinam Diksha. Although Mahaprabhu himself, he never initiated. And even after that, many of our gurus in the disciplic succession, they're not directly initiated by a Diksha guru, by initiating spiritual master, but it's rather Shiksha discipleship, which is very interesting, a very important point, I think, that we, get our head around this, because it can come up, this doubt, okay, we have this parampara. Prabhupada always speaks about the spiritual master gives the knowledge to the next disciple, and he becomes guru. But then if you look at the line, there is some gaps. So how is it? Are we a bona fide sampradaya, or what's happening? Mm-hmm. Can you maybe translate?
Exactly, you found your spiritual master. How do you
choose? Shishi Jagnapadev Subhadra Devi ki jai, Shishi Gonitai ki jai. So our deities have appeared to give us some guidance. So the question was, how did I find my spiritual master? I think I will maybe come back to it, if we can stick to the point of the question now. So why in Bhagavatam it is not so much stressed to take initiation from a Harinam Diksha, from a spiritual master? Mm-hmm.
Maybe the Harinam was not spread around all the classes, and maybe only already qualified, like Brahmanas, or maybe they were, like from the birth, they were enough qualified to be initiated.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, very good point. So one, you made basically 2 points. Maybe the holy name was not so widespread, so people maybe also didn't have access. Is that? And then second of all, so people back then, they were already so much more qualified, and that's why they could just chant, and that was enough. Okay, maybe one more.
So when I was thinking, we know that after Bhaktisiddhanta, it was like really just we have to take Varana Diksha. Also, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was really eager to get this Diksha. Although Gopishore Mitsubishi didn't want to give him, they really stressed that point, and he also introduced the sannyasa for him. So maybe he was the one who thought it's necessary to have this guru disciple connection.
Yeah, nice points. Yeah, definitely. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he really brought in many of these points that we, that we now take for granted. But if you compare to previous Gaudiya Vaishnavas, it has maybe not been so prominent. But there was a great need for reform, so that's why he did that. Krishna Prema Prabhu, you want to say something?
It's interesting, I just had a discussion with someone that it was about reinitiation, and I thought the argument was it's not needed because we were Shiksha, there's no system. Look at it.
Same point.
I'm curious about you.
So I must say my basis for this is on a Namras podcast. But I really love this discussion. This devotee was not a ISKCON devotee, so there's some disclaimer there. You know Prem Prayojan Prabhu, and I don't know him so much, but I really appreciate this point, and I think it's shastrically valid. So I will present that, and I also, for me it was a big topic because I just got second initiation by the mercy of my spiritual master, and so it was a big topic, for me. What does it mean to take second initiation? What is Brahman initiation? What does it mean to be a Brahmana? Am I now a Brahmana? Anyway, so I was really kind of trying to get my head around it. So basically, you all heard about this, I'm sure. So there's two systems that are prevalent. Srila Prabhupada talks about the two train tracks on that we ride, which is Bhagavad Vidhi, Pancharatrika Vidhi. Exactly. So, and the Bhagavad Vidhi is what we hear from in Srimad Bhagavatam. That's Bhagavad Dharma, that's what is preached by the sons of Rishabdev. And then there's the Pancharatrika Vidhi, which is the Vaidhi Marg, which is the Archana, focus on the Archana, deity worship. And so, again, the Srimad Bhagavatam, it declares, there's the 9 process of devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and so on, and each of them can give you perfection. Never it is mentioned that you need to have a guru for this, really. Or as an initiation like we have it. Of course you need a guru, that's mentioned, and Krishna takes a guru, but it can be more like a Shiksha guru, an instructing guru, somebody that is just there and teaches you these things. But then, really where this topic is discussed is in the Sandarbhas by Jiva Goswami, and he speaks about the point of why we have Pancharatrik Vidhi. So it's not something that only came from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, but of course he has it from the Shat Goswamis. He has a scriptural reference for it. It's not that he made up anything. So Jiva Goswami, he describes that there's 2 kinds of defects that make Diksha recommended. And he speaks about Kadarya Shila and Vikshipta Chitta. So Kadarya Shila is the tendency to engage in unvirtuous or immoral activities. So it's this tendency that I think, I for myself certainly can find, but that is very prevalent in Kali Yuga due to a lack of education and training, that we want to engage in things that are sinful, like eating meat, like you could even say not offering food to Krishna. It is said in Bhagavad Gita, you just accrue sin, but I think every one of us has this experience. We walk down the street and we see something and buy it, and maybe we make a very quick offering. It's good if we're in good consciousness, but sometimes maybe we just eat it. So this kind of tendencies, they're there in the conditioned living entity. And then Vikshipta Chitta. So Chitta is the consciousness, and Vikshipta is the consciousness that is unsteady, that is disturbed, that is not able to focus, really. And because of this, that makes it very difficult to focus on the holy name. Now, as you said, Elia Prabhu, right? Elia. When Bhagavatam was spoken 5,000 years ago, or, I mean, longer ago, then devotees, the souls that were there in the assembly, and the personalities that we hear about, they were very much pure. Already, most of them, many of them pure devotees. And so, of course, for them, they didn't have so much problem in not engaging in sinful activities and focusing their minds on the holy name. But for us, as we have these two defects, we take Pancharatrik Diksha, or second initiation, to get purified. Because the whole process of performing deity worship involves a lot of discipline, right? Which means that you get up early, you have to bathe, you have to chant mantras at a certain time, you have to regulate your life. And in this way, by this regulation that comes about, this will help us to get a pure mind, and this way we can really chant the holy name. And that's the Bhagavat Vidhi, Bhagavat Dharma, is to Sankirtana, what is it? Sankirtana Yajata Prayar. It's the Sankirtan Yagya. That is the focus of this age, right? And that's what Bhagavatam is telling us. That's how it starts, that's how it ends. Just glorify Krishna in congregational chanting. So, in order to get to this position where we can do that purely, the Pancharatrik Vidhi has been introduced, especially by Srila Jiva Goswami, very philosophically soundly, to help us to come to this point of really appreciating the holy name and really being able to go into meditation on it. Because Srila Prabhupada also says, right, no one, that's a very beautiful purport I find, in 1.3.44 he says, no one can understand Bhagavatam who is not pure in mind. No one can be pure in mind who is not pure in action, and no one can be pure in action who is not pure in eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing. So again, it comes to this point, you cannot understand Krishna, you cannot understand Bhagavatam, you cannot understand the holy name if you're not pure. There has to be a certain purity, and to get to this purity, we have these certain rules and regulations that help us to eat purely, to sleep purely, to mate purely, to defend purely. So we perform all activities as a purificatory process to really appreciate the holy name, because we hear always about the holy name, how powerful it is, right? So just chanting one time purely the holy name will give us Krishna Prem. There's this one devotee, Hare Krishna Prabhu, and he was always preaching to me, how in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Premankur, the seed of prema is discussed there in the 4th chapter of Adi Lila, especially, that the seed of prema sprouts very quickly in a pure practitioner. And he was telling me, so do you feel some bhava? Do you feel some proper emotions towards Krishna? I was like, I'm not sure, I don't think so. And he was like, after a few weeks that should happen, that should happen. And he was very firm on this point. And actually also Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if you read his writings, Srila Shiva Maharaj, he made his lectures on Siksastakam, which is of course important for me to study. And there he, I don't know, maybe it's in Shikshamrita, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he also goes through the Siksastakam. He gives his purport. And he says, okay, all the 8 shlokas, they are representing a certain stage. So the first is Shraddha, Chetudarpana, Marjanam, and then so on. And basically is saying that after a few weeks of chanting the holy name, then you will come to Nishtha, and from there you will experience Ruchi, and so on. After a few weeks, he's saying. And Srila Prabhupada, when he came to the West, right, he was thinking, okay, they're all pure devotees, and very quickly they will be pure devotees of the Lord. And of course, one point of view can be that he's just a pure devotee, so he sees everybody else as pure devotees. But then also, he had the expectation to some degree that because it's such a powerful process, these people from the West, they will immediately, come to the stage. And then practically we can see that over time he put more emphasis on Varnashram Dharma and rules and regulations, because he could see that devotees are just not really up to the standard, up to this purity that they can really appreciate the holy name and in this way, become pure devotees. So that's how I understand this, that Bhagavad Dharma is there, it's the main essence of our movement, but then we have this Pancharatric Vidhi to help us on the way. And also, it's to be understood that Diksha, even second initiation, is not something that means, that is a one-time thing. But actually this Diksha goes up to the state of prema. I just read something small here. Often devotees mistake the process of initiation for no more than the one-time ceremonies in which they are offered the holy names or Gayatri mantras. I don't have so much time, so I will just I will maybe quickly summarize after. Having completed these rituals, they think, I'm initiated, right? You get the beads, and you think, now I'm initiated. But the following definition, given personally by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, shows that Diksha is a process completed at the stage of complete self-surrender. And unfortunately, this is like, the Sanskrit didn't quite get nicely converted here, but it says, Diksha kale bhakta kare, atma samarpana. Se kale Krishna tare kare atma sama. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders unto the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as himself. Thus, Diksha runs parallel to the process of surrender, which begins at the stage of bhajana kriya and is completed when a devotee is surrendered to Krishna as absolute. In conclusion, Diksha is completed when one has attained love for Krishna and become qualified for eternal service to the divine couple. So that's quite a different understanding of initiation. In one sense, initiation means beginning, but then also fully initiated means that one has fully surrendered to Krishna, Atma Samarpana. He has given his soul to Krishna and the spiritual master. Like we heard in the verse also that he has made the orders of his gurus his life and soul. And at that point he becomes fit to enter to the spiritual world and get reinstituted in his eternal position. So that's actually the definition that Mahaprabhu gives here in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yes, so I'm just very much amazed at all the depth and philosophical depth that is behind this process, right? And there's so much wealth that we can dive into in the scriptures and in the Goswami's literatures that show us that this is not just any kind of religion, but this actual science of self-realization, right? And so I think we should really try to understand it fully, go deep into it, and then by the practice of these processes that we are given in this life, we can attain perfection and help others to get there. So thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai.
We had very, very long kirtan. And and the kirtan was even longer than we planned initially. And then when kirtan finally stopped, he said, actually, initiation already took place. Those who were supposed to get initiated, he said, you are already initiated but just by hearing the holy name from him. He said like that. And the ceremony will be later, like formality.
Yeah, he always makes his point, right? Sometimes we don't have fire yagyas.
Mm-hmm.
And he says that's no problem, because the Vaishnavas here, the holy name is chanted. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So no need for any ceremony. We finish here.
There is a need to understand.
Oh, what she said.
Yeah, yes, Krishna.
We apply for persecuted life.
Jai. Holy Venki Jai.
Jai.
I make photo of the knife?
Oh, yes, of course.
Maybe you know where can I buy it?
Oh, I bought it in Germany some years
Germany.
ago. Yeah, the brand is called Zwilling, I think.
Super,
Good one,
super
right?
knife.
You always
Yes.
have to like sharpen it.
Yes,
We
yes.
have a sharpener downstairs, so it stays sharp.
Mhm.
But yeah, I use it. But I'll keep it with me so so it stays
Yes, yes,
nice.
yes.
Yeah.
Super, super knife.
Okay.
So comfortable. I think it's first I